What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is Bluegrass State of Mind. Fellas, we got our second guest with us, Mr. Chad Rush, the old one of the group. How old are you,
Right.
Chad?
I am 38 in 2 weeks. How old are you?
Man, I'm 28,
What year were you born?
1996. Let's not. Well, yeah, I'm not that old.
So you
All right,
got-
let's. We got a lot to get into. So this past weekend, the Kentucky Wildcats went to Missouri and came up on top with a big win, 91-83. And I know everybody has their own thoughts of the game. Chad, we're gonna start with you tonight. Chad, what are some initial thoughts of the game?
I did not see much of the first half. I did see or read maybe Kobe Bryant hit some big shots to kind of keep us going and get us started. Second half looked really good. Carr stepped up, played really good. I thought Chandler played some good minutes, which everybody knows I'm a Chandler fan. Like his defense is just,
We know.
So other than that, I mean, I was pleased. It got close there. I thought we were going to let it go, kind of like the Texas game, but we pulled it back together and really good win.
Yeah. Speaking of how good of a win this is, though, I think that this is right there with the Tennessee game. As far as a true road win, you're going into a hostile environment. It's a Saturday game, whereas Tennessee was on a Tuesday night game. I know we all hate Tennessee, but this was their senior night. This was another what we thought was going to be a setup game because they had come off of back-to-back losses. Was it 2 or 3 losses that they had lost in a row?
May have been. They lost 4 out of 5, right? To finish
Yeah,
this
that's
season.
4 out of 5. I don't know if it was in a row, but they lost 4 out of 5.
I mean, but this was a real big game for them. And it was us too. But, for us to go in and win the way that we won, I was very impressed. Before I actually talk more about the game, Colton, share some thoughts on the games that you had seen Kentucky play.
Yeah, so I didn't watch it. I didn't get to watch it initially, so I went back and rewatched it. My biggest takeaways were obviously the fact that I think we had 6 different guys that made a three-pointer, and one of those was an Almanor who shooting 50% from 3 in SEC play. He didn't even attempt one. Brandon Garrison's also been hitting a few here lately, and I don't think Lamont Butler hit one. I don't think he attempted one. So we had 6 different guys hit a 3, and we have 3 others that have been known to hit also. When you've got 9 different guys that can shoot like that, it makes it very tough to guard. So I thought the bench stepped up. I'll give Chandler his flowers. I've been hard on Chandler, but he is the one of him, Perry, and Noah that's got a chance in the next couple years because of his athleticism to really play a big role in their big games, I think. I think Noah and Perry both are going to grow. I just think athletically, when you take when we watched them play Auburn last weekend, they're on a totally different field. And if we run into those teams in the future, I don't know that Perry or Noah will ever get there with their athleticism, but Chandler might have a chance to do that. So I'll give him those flowers. Other than that, Carr had a big game. Williams, obviously, Wade finally got his numbers. They all played very well. It started out slow, but another game we shot 48% from the field, 55% from 3. We've got a better chance of shooting above 45% than below 45%. And so as long as we're shooting that type of way, I mean, it gives me a lot of hope going into the tournaments because you played essentially the type of team that you would be playing in the second round of the NCAA tournament. And you went into their hostile environment and won that. And so from here on out, you should have the majority of the fans in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can play like that and shoot the ball like that, we're talking Sweet 16, hopefully Elite Eight or more. It gives you that type of hope. So big win. I was proud of the performance, and hopefully you use this confidence going forward.
Yeah, and you said talking about starting out slow. I was in the same boat with you, Coach. Obviously, we were playing golf together, so we had to go back and rewatch it. Mason, you and Chad were the only ones who got to watch it live. At the 10-minute mark of the first half, after rewatching it, I can't believe that we won this game because at the 10-minute mark, we had only scored 10 points. Now, however, Missouri had only scored 11 points, and our defense deserves a lot of credit because they kept us in the game that first half. Mason, what do you think of the first half performance of the Cats?
Yeah, I really only got to watch fully the first half. I got to watch bits and pieces of the second half, went back and watched it. But I mean, like you said, it kind of felt like another, I don't know, Ohio State game where we just came out. I texted y'all, about 6 or 7 minutes of the game, and I was like, our offense looks terrible right now. Like, it was stagnant. We weren't doing nothing. Weren't getting good looks. And our defense did keep us in it, but, like Chad said, Kobe Bryant stepped up. He made some big shots. I mean, he had one from the logo with the dude right in his face, and I was just like, I said it last show. He needs to shoot at least 7 threes a game. I don't care how contested he is.
You can't go wrong with that.
They need to be going up. But no, I thought it was a good response from them. I think it shows that we have a senior team, guys that have been through this before. They didn't fold in a hostile environment. They kind of just took the punches and then bounced back. And we really controlled the game, from about 10 minutes left in the first half throughout the rest of the game. I thought that y'all talked about Colin Chandler. I think he just needs to get some confidence going when he gets in games. He can get a steal or get a layup, get something going. I think that really, really helps him. I mean, we got to remember, he hadn't played basketball in 2 years. He's just now starting to get his legs back underneath him and probably get the feel of the game again. It's been a long time since he's played competitive basketball. So I think he can help us going forward. And I think he's going to be an important piece for us, in March, coming off the bench and giving us a spark. But it's a great win. I think it was one we needed, and it's a good confidence booster going into March, getting a win like that. It looked like everything was clicking on Saturday, after the first 7 or 8 minutes. That team that I saw after those first 7 or 8 minutes, I think we could make a deep run with that team in the way that they played the last 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I agree. Well, just to harp on 2 specific players, I do want to bring up 2 players and talk just a little bit about them. I think for me, Andrew Carr, one thing that I would love to see him doing more of, and it may just be Pope's offense in general because that's just what he likes to do, but I would like to see Andrew Carr getting the ball on, not like in the post area, but on the kind of the mid-range of the 3-point line and the paint itself, and kind of let him go to work and let him do his moves that he does. He's very slow on those moves. I've referenced, he reminds me of the Joker in the NBA. Now, he's not the Joker, but he's got that slow footwork, and he finds a way to get to the rim, and he usually finishes them. And I really like seeing him do that more so than be up at the top, unless it's like a little pick and pop play for a screen and roll and let him pop and shoot to the 3. But sometimes I feel like whenever he gets up there and he holds the ball, our offense just gets really stagnant because he's not the passer that Amari Williams is. Amari Williams is the best big man passer that I've seen in a long time. I don't know if it's just that he's not looking for the guys, but it just seems like we're constantly going in circles. Now, there is movement, but it's just not as high quality movement as I would like to see. And the other thing is Otega Oweh. I think for moving forward, when we play these better teams, great teams, when we match up against those teams in March, hopefully, he has got to finish around the rim better. There's too many bunnies that he is constantly missing. You just look at this game by itself. He had 3 points the first half, but then he turns around and has 18. Now, I will say a lot of those points were towards the end off free throws, which is another thing. He is not doing very well. He's not hitting a lot of free throws, but he's got to find a way to finish at the rim because he's such an aggressive player, and he always finds a way to get to the rim. And I've always had the mindset, you've done the hardest part, which is getting there, so just finish it. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, and he's one of those, like, you don't want to pick at him, right? Because we've got to have, like, it's not like
right.
saying anything bad about him. It's just for us to be that good, like, to where we want to go, he's got to be his best self. He does not finish at times. And I don't know if you remember like the Arkansas game. Like Oklahoma made him, but he started going to the rim and he was like, they were like not even, I don't know if there's a good miss, but they were hard, long rebounds from the middle of the floor. It just led to a fast break. And that's just the stuff is if we're going to go to him late in games, like he's got to make some. And when he gets there, like I said, his jump shot is, but he hit a big one the other day. So, but yeah, he gets to the rim way too much and can get there whenever he wants to not finish. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. He obviously he's our go-to guy, right? We don't have that NBA first rounder lottery pick. We don't have the Cooper Flag. Right? We don't or the Mark Sears for Alabama. Like those guys that are gonna, hey, the last second you got the ball, like go get the bucket.
That can beat you at all levels,
right? Always got the best chance of being that for us. And he did that against Oklahoma, right? It was great to see there at the end of the game, watch him be that type of guy because it gave us some hope that we actually maybe have a guy like that can do it. Obviously, he's got to finish. I don't think he has a lot of great feel for the offensive side, just shooting-wise and around the rim, but his athleticism is hard to match. I wish he had about 3 more inches on him because he'd almost be just unstoppable if he was like a 6'7" or 6'8" compared to like 6'4", 6'5". But going forward, he has to be able to finish those because you're going to run into a game, whether it's the SEC tournament or the March Madness, where we're not going to hit double-digit threes. And we're going to have to win it in the paint. And they'll start doubling Amari. They'll start, Carr's going to find a matchup that's against him. He's got to be the one guy that can take over a game and get to the rim. And so hopefully he does that going forward. I'm with you, Dylan. Carr, as far as Carr goes, he's our biggest mismatch that we can throw out there, especially if we have Amari Williams and him on the court, because how many teams can throw out 2 7-footers to guard?
Yeah.
Right. So, him being 6'11" and having a high IQ, right? He moves slow, but his high IQ when he has the ball down in the paint.
Well, you're talking about 2 7-footers, though.
So, right.
Well,
exactly.
But you're also talking about 2 7-footers who have a complete different game. You're talking about Andrew Carr, who has a feel, has a touch, can make basketball moves, whereas Amari Williams, he just bullies his way down. So I think that's a hard mismatch.
And his ability to shoot the three.
That
helped,
too.
Right?
He can shoot the ball.
Because he gets 3 or 4 really good looks a game off that pick and pop. And if he can just make 1 or 2 of them, we don't need him to make 5 or 6 threes a game. But 2 or 3 makes a big difference as far as pulling the defense out too, away from some players. So it makes a big difference. But Mason, I know what you.
Yeah. Oweh, y'all kind of harped on, finishing when he gets in the lane. He's really kind of the only guy right now that we have that can kind of get to the rim when he wants. So when he does, we really need him to finish those shots at the rim. Another thing that just drives me crazy, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but I feel like our offense gets stagnant with him sometimes. They may start swinging the ball and he'll catch it. He can make one more pass, and then, that pass can turn into one more pass, and we're going to have a great shot. It just kind of sticks in his hand sometimes. He doesn't want to swing it. He doesn't want to move it. And then he tries to, attack down through the lane. That drives me a little bit nuts sometimes. I wish he would get better about, I think you said it, Colton, just kind of his feel for the game. I feel like sometimes he doesn't have that feel, and it's like, okay, I can make this one more pass, we get a good shot, and then if he swings it, it's a great shot. And I don't know that he kind of feels that, or if he's just like, all right, I'm going to go get it, I'm going to take over this game and go get my bucket. But that drives me crazy sometimes. And then with Carr, I think Carr he's so slow, like Dylan said. You don't ever really see him face up to the basket and make a move and get by anybody. And I think that's what causes it to be so stagnant sometimes too, is because those defenders know, okay, he's slow on his feet. I'm just going to get up in him and take away these passing lanes. It's going to be hard for him to make a pass. And a lot of times I feel like you see him, he catches it, he may face up, and then he's going to turn his back, and then he just tries to, kind of back down and make a little spin move or something. He's methodical, like you said. He has good footwork, but he just doesn't have the speed to get around anybody, and I think that's why it gets stagnant sometimes with him. But I do think he's one of our kind of biggest X factors going into March, just because of the mismatches he can cause on that offensive end of the floor.
Yeah. And Chad, we were talking about it earlier, but Chad was talking about how much healthier he looks.
Yeah, he looked a lot
Now,
healthier.
Yes.
yeah, and that makes a big difference, especially if, Butler says he's 85 to 90%. I don't know how much of
Yeah.
that is true. That left arm is
Yeah.
obviously not 85 or 90%.
Well, Pope claims it's the brace, not his arm. It's the brace, like
Maybe, and maybe that is. He short armed a lot of shots in the Auburn game from that left side. So I don't know if it was a brace or his shoulder was hurting. But Carr looks a lot healthier, and that makes a big difference going forward too.
I mean,
Yeah.
you think back to the Duke game when he was healthy. He pretty much took over that game in the second half and won it for us.
He did.
You know.
Yeah, he did.
Gonzaga
Well,
too,
you know,
right?
you're-
Didn't he do a lot in the Gonzaga game at the end?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah.
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 Well, you talk about the brace on Lamont Butler too. Before we go on to our next segment, I don't know necessarily though that we have to have Lamont Butler on some games to be able to do what he done against, let's just say, a Louisville, where he had that big offensive game. I think that Butler's at his best whenever he's just on the court, and the reason why is because he is a very physical guard. He gets from point A to point B very good. His first step is really quick, and he finds a way to get by his guys, and that opens up the court, whether it be in just going on the full court in transition or whether it be in the half court setting. I think that it just opens up our offense so much. But when we're talking about big games, like whenever we were to match up against Alabama or Florida or a Duke or somebody like of that nature, then yeah, I do think that is going to call for him to maybe have to score 14, 16 points along with other guys having big games.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, defensively, he makes a big impact.
Yeah,
Compared to
that
having
too.
Travis Perry out there, especially the Alabama's, the Mark Sears, the ones with the elite point guards who are high scorers. Florida, Clayton Jr., those guys that are elite scorers and their main guard, those are the ones that it's tough to have Perry out there. And so Butler really makes a big difference in those type of games. Ziegler for Tennessee, right? I mean, there a couple of really good guards in the SEC. There are also like 15 plus scorers. That's where he really impacts the game.
Yeah.
And you may run into, you could run into a team in the tournament. This one's to junk it up and say Butler or Williams are going to have to shoot it. Like one of you are going to have to shoot it. If they do that, he's got to knock one down. Because I mean, that's the only two, and they're the two most important players, in my opinion. But they've got to play a lot of minutes, and they're on the floor together. And you decide, all right, we're not letting these other three shoot. You can do whatever you want. You two are making jump shots, and that's how I would guard this.
Yeah, there's been a few games. I'm trying to think who we were playing against, but there's been a few games where, when we were talking about it, obviously Ole Miss, Mari Williams had the triple-double, and there was another game, Williams was getting everything at the basket, and we still lost.
Yeah,
right.
I think it was Texas.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if it's Texas. I can't remember. Maybe been.
Yeah, because they were all on the road. It was like he had
He was killing against Arkansas, wasn't he?
But maybe it's Arkansas something. But essentially, they were just letting Williams have his, right? And even though he was scoring consistently and dominating down there, they were just trying to keep us from not hitting a three, right? And so you're right; those type of games are going to come, and Butler and Williams are going to have to step up.
If you think back to the Louisville game, it was kind of like that. I mean, Butler was wide open. I mean, they were not even guarding on some of those. Granted, maybe he was what did he make 8 for 8? I mean, it was crazy. But
yeah, I mean, he didn't miss. Yeah,
he didn't miss shot all game.
I mean, a couple of those there was nobody around him.
Right. No, I agree. So big win.
Yes. Yeah, it was absolutely a big win. And we'll talk a little bit more on our last segment of tonight about what we're looking forward to in March. But for now, the moment everybody's been waiting for. Coach, get us into our next segment. Well, hold on. There's something. Hold on just a second.
Here we go.
I got
somebody coming, sitting beside me here.
If this happens.
Oh, I got the goat. I'm not going to put it on right now, but we got the goat.
You want
to take it down, put it on.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Here we go, fellas. So this is one of those debates that you're not going to want to miss for the listeners out there. One of the longest debates that still goes on today. Turn on ESPN, turn on any sports talk show. It's a debate that comes up multiple times a year. Who is the greatest basketball player of all time? For Dylan and Mason, they are going to be defending LeBron James. For Chad, he is going to be defending Michael Jordan.
No real good.
Well, hold on. Before we move forward, though, Colton, make the audience. I know you're going to be the moderator, but let them know where you stand because I think you're going to chip in a little bit. I hope.
I'm going to chip in a little bit, but for the most part, I'm going to be the moderator and let our guest do
All
the
the fighting.
debating. Yeah,
But you are MJ, though. You are MJ.
I am
Yeah,
on the
that's
Jordan
fine.
side, and the reason I say that, I'll give my statement of why, and mainly because to me, I've always argued you just cannot compare errors. Like, you just cannot do it. Because it'd been one thing if they played in the same, like, you can even, like the Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. At the end of the day, they're going to look back and say, Tom Brady went 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Like, right, those are two, obviously, the different age groups, but they played each other. Right? It's two completely different errors they never face. And the way that the technology and the different, you take nutrition or you take the workouts, the recovery, the different aspects that weren't going on in that day. I mean, you talk about Jordan was playing 18 holes and smoking a cigar before he come and dropped 40, right? What's LeBron doing before each game? Probably 3 workouts, eating the best nutrition meal, recovery. Afterwards, he probably got some type of special recovery. Like, those things weren't happening. And because I know one of y'all's arguments is going to be a big, like the longevity. If that had grown up in that time, who knows how many years and how much better, like, it would have lasted. You just don't know because it's completely 2 different eras of basketball and the technology is advanced. So that's probably my biggest argument when it starts coming. I'll chip in a little bit here and there. I am on the side of Jordan, but I'm going to let y'all go first, Dylan and Mason, and then we'll let Chad go next. But for the first part, just give us your reasoning for LeBron over Jordan, not just some stats, but give
Yeah,
us
I'm not
more
going
of
to get into
your,
stats because I
just
want
give
us to
us
go back and
some
forth on
reasoning
that.
behind. So,
Well, before I even begin, this is something that I'm very passionate about. So for the listeners out there, I want to make this clear. This is not about personal views, and this is not about political views, because I will tell you right now, if this is personal views and political views, then you don't even listen because you've already made your mind up. Because I will go on the record and say there is a lot of things that LeBron James has done outside of the court that I do not agree with. There's statements that he's made, things that he supports. That has nothing to do with LeBron James as a basketball player. What I'm talking about is in between the lines and how you are as a basketball player. So that's where I'm coming from on this debate. So if you're just like, because more times than anything, when I'm talking to somebody about LeBron, before I can even begin talking about basketball, they all want to say, oh, you support that. That's not basketball. That has nothing to do with being in between the lines. Okay? So I do want to make that clear.
so tell
All
us
right.
basketball, DG.
Well, tell you basketball. Well, that's where the stats are going to come into. I do want to lay down that foundation first. Mason, is there anything you want to come
I
back
mean,
with before I?
basically, my biggest thing with, and Colton kind of harped on it a little bit, longevity, yes, but I mean, ever since LeBron's come into the league, what has he done? He's probably, up until maybe his first year or two, and then maybe the last 2 or 3 years, he's been the best player in the league over the course of 15 to 20 years. And he's dominated the league. Wherever he's went, he's won. And we'll get into all the stats here in a minute. I know we grew up watching LeBron. Chad grew up watching Jordan. So that's kind of, we're probably a little bit biased in that way. We're all going to give our opinions and facts. But, I mean, what we've watched LeBron do to this league and how he's changed this league, and we can get into some of that later too, I think is incredible and something we're never, ever going to see again.
And let's not forget the spotlight has been on him since the very first day that he entered the league. Before then, and I don't want to hear anybody say, "Well, the dude literally put a tattoo on the back of his back that said chosen one." That has nothing to do with basketball. Okay, I'm talking about strictly playing basketball. And he has lived up to the moment of being a basketball player. And we're going to get into being basketball players, but I'm going to let Chad go ahead because we're going to get into it here in a bit. I don't want to throw out stats unless you want me to start throwing out stats because we're going to start interrupting each other. Do you want to give him an opening statement? How are we going to do this?
I'll say this first.
Go ahead, Chad.
First, Colton picked me to do this because I've crushed him in so many debates. So you should be scared. Second, I did not grow up idolizing Michael Jordan. I was not a Michael Jordan fan. I wanted everybody that played him to beat him. Okay, so let's get that out there. That's the difference there. Like, I don't even have it. The only Michael Jordan jersey I owned, and every kid owned one, was a 45 jersey. It's hanging in Dawson's jersey because I thought it was cool when he came back. Right. So I'm defending a guy that I didn't even grow up idolizing. Fair enough. Okay. And I know you're going to throw out stats, but like, go for it.
Well, and before I throw out stats, though, remember,
wait.
Go ahead, Chad.
This is a GOAT debate, right? It's not an error debate, right?
Yes,
it's a GOAT debate. What I was strictly a GOAT debate.
Yeah, and I also was going to say, though, we're talking about the greatest of all time to just the complete game of basketball, because I don't want to hear people
one-on-one, not they would cook each other. We're not talking about like that's not.
Yes,
okay.
But I'm also going to say, though, like,
so why are we? What's the debate?
Well, all these aspects that are coming into, because we're building it up. All these aspects that come into this, like, a lot of people will say, well, Michael Jordan, he's the greatest winner of all. No, that's not true. Bill Russell, if you're talking about winning, Bill Russell would be the greatest. But we're not talking about. I'm just talking about the complete set of basketball players. So here we go. I'm ready. If y'all ready, I'm ready to throw out some stats and stuff. All right. Well, we'll start.
I don't have a bunch of stats. I don't need a lot of stats.
Exactly. You don't have a lot of stats because you ain't got stats.
I've got the stats that matter. I don't need all these over a 30-year period, and he's grandfather LeBron and blah, 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 and he scored all these points.
See, my argument is not father of time more so, even though that is crazy. I mean, he's 40 years old. He's averaging 25 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. But that's not my biggest. Let's just throw out some stats that are facts, okay? Championships, LeBron has 4. Michael Jordan has 6.
How many did they lose? How many did they lose?
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Nope.
Who did he play?
Exactly. You want to get there? We'll go there.
Right?
Hold on.
Is it an air debate or is it a GOAT debate?
No.
Is it a GOAT debate? Huh?
But when you're talking about the GOAT debate, you have to talk about who's played. Okay. Well, but if you're talking about that, you got to talk about who he has played. Okay. In finals opponents. All right. LeBron is 4-6 in the NBA Finals. Okay. Jordan is 6-0. All right. LeBron has faced 31 Hall of Famers. Michael Jordan has only faced 10. All right. Now let's get a little bit deeper. Let's go into who they have lost. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there before I even get to Jordan's. LeBron's loss against the Mavs, and I'm the biggest LeBron fan there is. That was a terrible loss, and I will not like it. It was terrible. Like that's the one
worst
in
series
his career.
Had.
Exactly, and you just can't lose that series. But let's go. All right, so Jordan faced a Lakers team in his first championship, but before we even get to that, he couldn't even get out of the East. He was getting whooped for years.
What by who?
3-1. He lost first round of the Bucks 3-1. 3-0
who did he
in
the Eastern Conference Finals before he got there? Were those things winning the finals? Were they losing?
Okay, he was still losing. That's what everybody's going to say. He's still losing. That's what they'll say about LeBron.
So how many years did it take LeBron to get? How many years did it take LeBron to get the finals?
How many players did he have on his team to help him?
Okay, how many did Jordan have on his team? I mean, you can do that, but that's not a GOAT debate. That's a team debate. What are we debating?
No. Well, we're debating. I mean, he didn't do it by himself.
Who's the greatest player of all time? At the end of the day, all right, Chad. At the end of the day, you say this guy is representing the NBA as the greatest ever player.
Okay.
And you're taking a guy that has a losing record in the finals. You're taking a guy that has a losing record in the finals. Tell me another sport does that.
Okay,
but it's not an individual sport. All right, we're already going to go this. Who's had the best influence? Who's made their team better? Who's been the best player over the course of their career, all time? So why do you think Jordan needs to go besides 6-0 in the finals? That's the only thing people have for Jordan.
Who has more MVPs?
Okay, we can argue that all day too.
Let me finish the stats.
Who has more MVPs? Okay, here you go. What was considered the greatest team ever assembled that transcended basketball?
The Warriors.
The 92 Dream Team. Who?
No, the Warriors are the greatest basketball team to ever play.
You can ask any basketball story. The 92 Dream Team. It's on a Netflix documentary right now. The 92 Dream Team changed basketball forever.
Oh, are you? I thought you was talking about regular season.
No, the 92 Dream Team, who an era where no was good, apparently, was the best basketball team ever assembled. Was it or was it not?
But what does that have to do with the
That's who
the
he's
GOAT
playing
debate?
against. That's who he's playing against. Those are the guys you're telling me are no good.
Okay, no, let me
I'd
finish.
argue-
Let me finish my statement, and then I'll let you rebuttal. Okay? So what I was saying is he beat a 91 team who did have Magic, but he had Worthy, who was getting older, and then
Worthy
he had
was hurt.
some.
No, Worthy was hurt. Worthy was hurt
Okay.
that series.
Okay, Worthy was hurt that series. All right. Well, then he goes on, and then he beats the Trailblazers, who had literally only Clyde Drexler. All right. Then he faces the Suns, who had only Charles Barkley. I went blank. You're
That's where
talking
you
about
don't know
only one.
basketball.
No.
Charles Barkley-
I'm going to let me
That's a good
finish.
team.
All right. But they weren't the teams that LeBron was facing. His next finals, and you can't say, well, what do we debate? You have to debate the teams that they're facing, or that's
No,
that's
you don't.
irrelevant.
How? You do
So
not
you're
have to
telling me-
debate that. I thought we were going between the lines, the best basketball, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not what you're doing. You're going and telling me the teams, you are discrediting the teams that he played.
Oh,
That's
my.
what you're doing. You're discrediting everything he accomplished by saying that
Okay,
he was
but
in
that
against
would be-
weaker opponents. You can't do
But that
that.
would be saying, yes, you can, because that would be saying, okay, Chad, you're going to play a team of a bunch of little leaguers, okay, and you're going to dominate, and then I have to go play a bunch of college players. You have to look at
Line
the
is when
opponents
you're
they're
trying,
playing.
what you're trying to do, if you want to make LeBron the best to ever play, you try to discredit Jordan. You don't have to do that with Jordan. You don't have to take anything away from LeBron. LeBron was great. But if for people that want to say
I'm
LeBron
not taking
is the
anything
GOAT, you have-
away.
but-
I'm just
Hey,
saying he's
for
not played
people
that
that wanna
great.
say- yes, you are. You're telling
Here's
me
the
he did it
thing.
against lesser competition.
Here's
That's
the
taking
thing.
away
How
from him.
do you measure a team's success every year in college basketball? They go back and look at who they played and who they beat. You look at who they played, the better teams that they played. So that's what we're doing here. LeBron played better teams in the finals. Jordan didn't really beat anybody. His best win was probably what, that
The
Lakers
Jazz.
team?
The Jazz. I would say he beat.
No,
I
I'm
would
not
say
even
the
giving
Jazz were
The
good.
Jazz
I
had
think the
one
Jazz were a
person
good
averaging
team.
over 15 points. They had one person averaging over 15. One.
Like you can't argue. I mean, the teams were good. Like the Eastern Conference was good.
I'm
He
I'm
was
not
in the
saying they
better
weren't
conference
good.
at the time. I mean, he was
I'm not
getting there
saying
through
they
the
weren't
better
good.
conference.
All right, LeBron, he beat the greatest
So that Heat
NBA
team,
team of
the
all
Heat,
time.
okay, we'll go to LeBron then. The Heat team that he beat in Disney World was a good team. That was a good team.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
one
that
of
team
his
was
I'm not
four.
good.
saying that. I'm not
That's
saying
one of
that.
his four.
But he also beat the best team in
Okay,
NBA
but then-
history.
One
But
time.
then also you
Coming
but-
back down
but
to
now-
3-1. And he led every
that's
player on
one-
both
that's
teams in
one
every
series.
statistical category.
That's
He
one
led
series.
every player on every team in both statistical categories.
That's one
That
series.
is
That's
the
one time.
definition.
Okay. For listeners' sake, though, let's just try to go one at a time because I feel like they might get annoyed if we keep interrupting each other. All right. But you're wanting to talk about individual stuff, okay? And you can't say that this is discrediting. Like we're not debating the GOAT. Anything I
I'm
bring up,
saying,
you're going to
if
say that.
if you want to tell me LeBron's the best, then tell me he's the best. But don't tell me he's the best by taking away from what Jordan did.
Okay.
You-
Well,
that's
then here we
not-
go.
you
All
can't
right.
do
Well,
that.
I'll throw out some more stats. LeBron is number 1 in scoring. He's at 50,000 points.
Well,
Jordan
is
is
that
number
points
5
per
at 30.
game?
And you.
Is that points per game?
It doesn't
Tell you
matter
this.
if your
Is that
team's
Jordan-
winning and you're
Hey, is
Is
scoring.
that points per
Hey.
game?
Hey, listen, Jordan averaged more points. Jordan scored 32,292 points. LeBron reached that point with 1,418 less shots. So who's a better scorer? Truly.
Okay, Chad, just let me finish and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
LeBron is number 25 in rebounding in the regular season. Jordan is not top 50. All right, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, no, let me finish. I'm talking because this is
Okay. I didn't
this
say
is
anything. Go
greatest.
ahead. Right.
This is basketball stuff. All right, he has 5,000 more assists than Jordan. He's at number 4, and Michael wasn't even on there because he really didn't ever pass the ball. He has a
averaged 5 a
higher.
Okay.
He has
5
a
a game.
higher percentage. He has a higher percentage from 3 than Michael Jordan does. And he also has a higher field goal percentage than Jordan does. Now, I will say this because this is very interesting. I don't know if you know this, all right? People want to harp on, well, offensively, yeah, they were really good. But, Michael Jordan, his defense, man, that's what brought him over. LeBron didn't play any defense. All right. Michael Jordan has 1 defensive player of the year. Okay. LeBron doesn't have any. The year in 2012 when the Miami Heat won the championship, he should have won it. And that's another. This is what I'm talking about. No. Let me throw this out to you because if you disagree with this, then I can't debate you. All right.
Okay.
This tells you how much the league does not like LeBron, and it's always going to be Michael Jordan. It was because Michael Jordan was their savior, the first guy to ever do it. Nobody's ever going to be better than him. All right, so here's what happens. All right, the year that he should have won it in 2012, they gave it to Marc Gasol. Okay, you ready for this? Marc Gasol won it and didn't even make first team on the All-NBA defense. He made second team. That's like saying, okay, for the MVP this upcoming year, we're not going to give it to an NBA player who makes the first team. We're going to give it to an NBA player on the second team. That's like saying Rookie of the Year. We're not going to give Rookie of the Year to anybody who made first team All-Rookie. We're going to give it to somebody who made the second team. That makes no sense at all. And that tells you enough that the league has had it out for LeBron. So little things like that, like nobody's ever going to admit that LeBron, and that's the thing. Like, I respect Michael Jordan. I promise I do. Most of the time, though, you talk to people, maybe not you, but a lot of times people are just like, no, LeBron, he'll never reach up. No, he has done so much as a basketball player, all throughout assists, rebounding, field goal percentage, winning. I mean, I don't understand how you can say he's not the greatest of all time. I mean, and then let's not even talk about, and this will be the last thing, and I'll give it up, and I'll let you all go. All right, let's talk about, well, LeBron, he's not as clutch as Jordan. No, he's not nowhere near, okay? Here we go. LeBron versus Michael Jordan in the playoffs for shots to tie or take the lead. In the final minute, LeBron is 23 for 50 at 46%. Jordan is 5 for 13 at 39%. Go a little bit deeper. In the final 30 seconds, LeBron is 14 for 35 at 40%. Jordan is 3 for 9 at 33%. In the final 5 seconds, LeBron is 8 for 20, 40%, and Jordan is only 2 for 4. I can't believe he only shot 4 shots with 50%. So you can't sit there and, like, I just don't understand, like, what are we, you're wanting us to debate, like, well, you got to tell me things about LeBron. Why is he, I'm not, all of those stats that I just thrown out, you got to throw out stats because, I mean, because they both are winners. Yes, you do. They're both winners. Yes, you do. You have to absolutely throw out stats. Yes, you do. I totally disagree with both of y'all shaking your heads. I'm done.
So tell us why Jordan's better then.
So, first of all, basketball players, LeBron has done things that nobody could do. I will not debate that. But if you're going to take a league, okay, NBA, and you're going to put that face on it and say, this is our GOAT, they cannot have a losing record at the pinnacle. They can't. No other sport does that. No other sport does that.
Yeah. He's right. And think of the other sports.
Hockey. Who's the GOAT?
Guys, it's not an individual game. How can you judge somebody based off of their wins and losses?
So why is it okay for the NBA to do that? And no other sport does that. No other sport that has a clear-cut GOAT does that.
Who's the clear-cut GOAT?
Well, I can say this because the reason why
somebody have more wins? Doesn't somebody have more wins than Tiger?
Right, and there's an argument there. People will argue that Jack is better because he has more wins.
But it's pretty much clear-cut that Tiger is.
No, it's not.
Come on.
He's more talented. He's the LeBron. Yeah. You cannot say that. You cannot 100% say if he changed the game more, he did more for golf. But you can't say that.
Different. And golf is different because it's an individual sport. Here in basketball, football, I get that. I get that argument that, okay, yeah, Tom Brady won this many Super Bowls. We can go back and say, okay, he had the best
percentage
defense.
that they win them at. If LeBron was 4-0, I would give it to you. I would give you the chance. But not when he lost 6 times. He lost 6 times. He lost 6 times.
But,
and really, he won one in Disney World, and he won another one by Ray Allen saved it. It's honest.
Nope. All right, let's bring that up. Okay, let's bring that up then. You're going to, all right, let me go, and then you can go. You're talking about Ray Allen saving. Nobody wants to watch the minutes before that, or not even the minutes.
Dude, Ray Allen pulled a shot out of his head. It doesn't matter what happened before. He made a shot.
Let me finish.
It doesn't matter what happened before. Ray Allen hit a shot. You cannot say Ray Allen didn't pull a shot out of his head.
Okay. All right.
Hell, Jordan couldn't get out of the first round until Pippen got there.
Well, no, Mason, I knew he's.
What LeBron do before he was going to build a super team?
Mason, I knew he was going to say that. So you know what?
That's another thing.
Chad, let us go.
There were so many more super teams during LeBron's era than there was during Jordan's era. Jordan had some of those at the end of their careers that we talked about, But the teams that LeBron has faced, like that Warriors team, that's the best team in NBA history. He came back down from 3-1. Let's see, the Celtics, whenever
That's
they
the
had
one.
Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, he took them out basically by himself when he was at Cleveland. I mean, and then he goes to Miami and he starts dominating them. Let's see, who else did he play, Dylan?
Who did he play in
who
did he play in the Eastern Conference Finals in like 15, 16, 17? Who was? Can you name me any of those players? He beat the Hawks. Who was on the Hawks in 2015?
Yeah, I can
Who
name
did
them.
they have? Right. What you do to that's what you do to the Jordan teams, because it's those players are a dime a dozen, and that's what it was then. That's what it was then. It's the same stuff. That's
No,
where
I want to go back to what
lose
you
it,
said.
because
I
you
want-
can say that Jordan didn't play anybody, but it's the same. You go back and look at those rosters like, oh, that guy was good, but like you don't remember him 5 years later. It's the same thing then.
I want to go back to what you said about the Ray Allen Savior shot. Okay, everybody wants to say, well, Ray Allen saved him. Okay, Steve Kerr hit a game 6 to win the finals too. What about that?
Game
That's
6,
the same
it wasn't
shot.
game 7. He still had another game
But
to
it was
win.
to win it was to win the series, just like it wasn't even
If Ray
Allen's shot
Allen
wasn't even to
misses
win
that
the
shot,
series.
if Ray Allen misses that shot, what happens? It's over.
But see, it's a
the
double
series is
standard here.
over.
You're not agreeing though. Like
wait.
I agree the same thing. I'll go to you. Let me. I agree that yes, it's the same thing for Michael Jordan. Steve Kerr hit that, and it won them the series. It's the same. You can't.
It's not the
I
same.
knew
Just
But-
can't-
but
yes,
my-
it is.
I think, and I don't know this, so you'll have to tell me you're not. But did Jordan miss the shot before Kerr hit it? Because if I recall right, LeBron missed the chance to win the game, and then
The
Ray
reason
Allen
I'm saying
hit
it's
it.
not the same is if Kerr misses that shot, they still have a game 7. That was a game winner. I mean, that kept the series going. It was over. That they were down 3-0. They were down 3-2 or whatever it was.
Yeah, but
They were-
you
that
can't
was
sit
the
there.
fourth-
But you can't sit there and say that if Kerr misses that, they were going to win the next game. It's the
I'm
same
not
thing.
saying they would have won it, but that's still not the same. To say that Ray Allen saved him in that series, that shot saved the series. Yes.
Yes.
If
I
Kerr
heard they would have
misses that
lost.
shot,
Yes.
there's still an unknown there. I agree with that, but it's not the same. It's not to say if Kerr misses his, there's still a game 7. Ray Allen misses that one, series is over.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
But
it's not
also
the
though,
same.
okay, but no, that it is in a sense because there's still the
It is
unknown.
in a sense, but it's
also,
still not the same. That's like missing a putt on 17 or missing a putt on 18 to tie. You miss it on 17, you got another chance. You miss it on 18, it's over.
Okay, but then here's another argument though. Then which I guess we're just going to keep going back and forth, which is what I love. But one thing also though is we always talk about, everybody wants to talk about LeBron's years before. Why don't we ever talk about Michael Jordan's years before enough? Like, are we just going to just say, okay, only that 6-year period and that's it? Like,
What do you want to talk about him being you want to talk about him being the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year in the same year? That was before, was it not? I mean, if you want to go, was it not? Was that not before?
But he didn't win. He didn't win it. If we're talking about the years beforehand,
Exactly. But you're the one to do both. That's fine. I'll talk about him before. His stats were still great. I mean, it wasn't like
but
he
he
was
still
trash.
wasn't winning. But he still wasn't winning. That's what you're saying about LeBron.
No,
is that
I'm
even
saying
like his
once he
stats.
got there, he didn't lose.
Okay, but then the thing about it though, Chad, like, and if this is the argument you have, then I guess we're just it's just, it is what it is. And that's just maybe an opinion on your opinion and my opinion and maybe Mason's opinion. I don't know, Colton's. If you're going to sit there and say I do understand what you're saying. Like, it just matters what happens when you get there. I promise. Like, I totally get that. But for me to sit there and on the record and say it just doesn't matter though, because of who you play, like, yes, it does. It matters who you like. If you were to play the teams, and I'm not comparing.
Can you control that? Can you control that? Can you control who you play?
No, but that doesn't matter though.
It does matter because you're asking people. Listen, here's the thing. I have no problem with LeBron. None. Like, he's a great player.
I don't have a problem with
But if
Michael
you're
Jordan.
the reason people say that Jordan is the greatest is because they're both equally as talented. I mean, they're so talented. But if you have to break the tie, you go with the winner, the one that won more, that didn't lose when they got there. That's
where I disagree with you, because if we're talking about if we're talking about the greatest Are we talking about if you're talking about the greatest winner of a series of all time? Yeah, it'd be Michael. If you're talking about the greatest winner of just in general winning, Bill Russell. If you're talking about the greatest just pure shot maker, Kevin Durant. But we're talking about the basketball player, the greatest.
I'll give you this. It may not be fair to judge it that way, but when you put the term GOAT behind something, everybody goes to the one that won the most. They just do. That's what people do. So whether it's right or wrong, if I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying percentage. That's what I'm saying. It's percentage.
He was 11 for 12. He almost doubled him.
That's not 100%.
I guarantee
I'm saying
you,
the percentage.
Jordan didn't get to 12. Bill Russell got more. If you look at
my biggest thing is if you look at any other sport, they do not have a GOAT. They do not have a GOAT for that sport that lost more than they won in their championships. They don't.
Because you've never had anybody in other sport like that.
Let's go back to percentage. How many years?
Tom Brady made 10 Super Bowls, just like LeBron's made 10 championships. So
how many years did Jordan play total?
16.
He made it to how many? 6?
6
finals? 6 finals. 6-0.
Yeah.
Bill Russell played 13 years and he made it to 12. So who has a better percentage? Bill Russell got there more. He only lost one time. He's 11 for 12. I'm considering him more accomplished than I am Jordan.
I mean, Jordan also retired in between 2 3-peats, and he retired for 3 years before he came back to the Wizards. I mean,
all crap on the Wizards.
Yeah, don't even start about what I'm saying. Playing at the time.
No, what I was saying is those 3 years he retired before he come back to the Wizards. What if he stays with the Bulls? Like, he don't retire and he plays 3 more years with the Bulls, plus the 1 year he didn't play in between the 2 3-peats. I mean, you could sit there and say, make an argument if he plays those years, but he didn't play those years.
First year he came back after that break, they didn't make it to the finals. They lost in the second round.
So, all right, well, I'm gonna give a 1 minute closing, and then because we gotta move on to our next one. I know y'all can't see the time, and I can, but I'm gonna give my 1 minute closing. Chad, you can, Mason, and Coden. If you want to say anything, then we'll get into our last thing. Last thing I just want to say is I totally respect Michael Jordan, and I truly do. It's just my opinion is LeBron is the GOAT, and for a lot of the reasons I've listed. And I don't think that it's one thing that's like, oh, LeBron's here, and Michael. I think it's right, like it's super, super tight. And that's where some people may totally disagree. I think they're both hands down the 2 greatest basketball players of all time. I just have my feelings that I do about LeBron being the GOAT. Some of the reasons why I listed, and no, I had fun with it.
Go ahead, Mason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously LeBron is, in my opinion, the GOAT. I just think he is the greatest all-around basketball player of all time. When you talk about influencing the game and the impact he has on the game when he's on the court, other players around him, both ends of the floor, his basketball IQ, I mean, just everything LeBron has done since he's been in the league. And I mean, really, the main argument that I hear every time, kind of like Chad said tonight, is, Jordan is 6-0 in the finals. And yes, he is. You can't argue that. Whenever it comes to getting to that point and winning, Jordan is the greatest at that point. But as far as the greatest basketball player of all time, that is LeBron James.
All right, Chad, 1 minute. Give your closing statement. Be respectful.
I'll give LeBron as a great talent. He's the most talented player we ever saw. I'll say if you're going to put a GOAT on a league, they can't lose more than they won when they got there. Okay. My biggest thing for you, though, is this. It's easy for you to sit and say that the guys in the 90s weren't any good. Okay. Picture this. Say Wemby goes on a tear, right? Because we've never seen anything like Wemby. LeBron is kind of like Wemby. Wemby goes on a tear. You have a conversation with Hayes in 25 years. He looks at pictures in short clips of guys like Steph, Joker, those guys that don't, with the eye test, they don't pass it. And he's like, that's the trash he played. That's where I'm at. Because I remember those guys. Like John Stockton's trash. John Stockton's the all-time assist leader. Like, I mean, they're not trash. And I'm not that passionate about Michael Jordan. I just like to debate
it. All right, Cody, anything you got?
Yeah, I mean, to me, obviously I'm on the Jordan. I mentioned it. To me, it's just hard to compare errors because there's so much different aspects that go on based on when you grew up and the evolution of the game and just different aspects of it. But to me, I've always been Chet, and obviously I think it's between LeBron and Jordan. I know others want to argue Kobe, some other players.
I would argue Kobe.
You can have some arguments towards that also.
He's just a LeBron hater.
But my whole thought on it is like, okay, I think a big part of LeBron's has come because of his physical, attributes, which is obviously part of it. I'm not saying it's not, but I thought to myself, if you was to take Michael Jordan's pure basketball skill and you was to put it into LeBron's body, and you was put LeBron's pure basketball skill and you would put it into Jordan's body, do you think Jordan's body gets better? I don't. I think LeBron's body gets worse, or I think LeBron's body gets a lot better with Jordan's talent in it. But I think Jordan's body gets a lot worse with LeBron's talent in it. Personally, and my other thought on it is, unless you need a 2-point basket, are you hoping that LeBron is the one at the free throw line needing to hit 2 free throws to win the game, or is he the one that needs to make the 3 to win the game? Regardless of percentage, whatever it is, like, it don't matter if it was a 3, whatever it was, I can guarantee you the ball was going to go to Jordan. But if it's not a 2-point basket, of all those options, are you hoping that LeBron is the final guy taking the free throws and the shot? And if he's not, how do you consider that the greatest? Like, why would you not want to go to your greatest of all time for the final anything of a game?
Well, the numbers have shown, though, he is.
But y'all watched it, though. Would you right now, if I've told you
yes,
LeBron has to make 2 free throws or Chris Paul has to make 2 free throws, who are you choosing?
What? Yes.
You're going to choose LeBron over Chris Paul to make 2 free throws to tie the game?
Well, I've lost you with Chris Paul.
I said like a player like Chris Paul.
Yes.
Like
I promise.
He's a 90%
free
throws. Right. Okay.
I'm just.
We're just going to keep your hands.
That's
laser beam pointed at Earth. Who do you want taking the last shot? Andre Iguodala. Y'all remember that?
I just.
He's like,
like I said, at the end of the day, it's all opinions. For the listeners out there, we hope you enjoyed it. We're going to probably post a poll out like we did for the Kentucky lineups. Let us know your take on it.
Well, most of the guys listening to us are old geezers, so
here we go.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna edit there. We'll get on to our next segment.
But Dylan can lead us into our next segment.
Yeah, Chad, thank you for coming on and being respectful. I appreciate you.
We can continue this on our trip.
Yeah.
No, I'm done.
Moving into our next segment, something that we all can agree on because we're all big Blue Nation, Kentucky all the way. We got the SEC tournament coming up. Kentucky, with their win, they did lock up the 6th seed, so they're in the bracket, the side with Oklahoma. They'll play the winner of Oklahoma and Georgia. And then if we were to win that game, we would advance to the quarterfinal to play Alabama. Chad, what are your initial thoughts? Like, what would you consider a successful postseason for the Kentucky Wildcats going into the SEC tournament? Not necessarily March Madness, because that will be another time that whenever that starts up, but just solely for the SEC tournament. What would you kind of like to see and be?
At this point, I just want to be healthy. I know that sounds crazy. Like, I want to win, obviously, but if we can get out of Nashville without another injury and everybody coming out rested, like, yes, I would love to win it all. But do I think that helps us advance in the tournament? And normally I would never say that, but the way this season's gone and as banged up as we are or have been, I'd love to win a game, play a really good competitive game with Alabama, and get healthy and ready to try to make a run. But it's probably not the popular answer, but it's where I'm at.
Well, before we get to Alabama, though, we got to play either Oklahoma or Georgia.
That's what I said, win a game and then get to
okay. I didn't hear that.
No, win a game and be competitive there. Yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie, guys, Oklahoma kind of scares me still.
Yeah,
because we beat them away, and their guards have potential, I feel like. But that's just my opinion. Colton, I see you. Go ahead.
I think Georgia wins that game. I think Georgia's won the last 4 in a row.
Georgia's good.
I think Mike White is a really good coach.
They got a stud freshman.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to beat Oklahoma, and then but I do like our chances against either one, just because I like our offense more than each of those. Like, I like our chances to outscore both those. Alabama's a different story. I'm like Chad. Really, I want to see us win those games and then just be competitive in that game. If we don't, obviously, you hope to win it, but just be competitive against Alabama for a third time. Just show that, if you see them a fourth time in the March Madness, if you don't win that game, that like there's still, you got a chance to get them. Just don't go in there and get beat pretty bad for a third time this year to Alabama.
I guess so. What I'm talking about more of a sense is just for the Kentucky players themselves. Personally, whenever I was playing, whether it be high school, college, whatever it was, I would where both teams I feel like are one's not just like so much better than the other. I would rather see the team that we lost to than play the team that we had barely beat. That's just kind of like what I was thinking about. Not necessarily that Oklahoma's that much better than Georgia, or the other way around. It's just from a player's perspective. I always like, okay, we got a little bit of a revenge game. You know what I'm talking about? That's kind of what I was.
You feel more pressure after you've already beat them, close game. It's like, oh, we got to do this again. Yeah, for sure. So my initial thoughts, I think we win, that first game, whether it's Oklahoma or Georgia. I do think we beat Bama this time. Just thinking back the last two times we played Bama, I think Bama's good. I know people have Bama up there as their national title, a favorite. I don't see that with this Bama team.
Their defense is a weakness.
Yeah, and thinking back, like when we played them at Rupp, we were up with less than 3 minutes or 4 minutes left in the game. We just didn't close out that game, and there was a stretch there at that point in the season where we did that 2 or 3 games in a row, where we were up, with less than 4 minutes left and ended up losing the game. I think it happened at Vandy too, and then we did it at home against Bama. I don't remember who else.
At Texas.
Yeah. And then at Bama, we were nowhere near being fully healthy. And, we were pretty much in that game until the last 6 or 7 minutes, and they got hot and hit a couple threes. I think officiating had some stuff to do with it, changing momentum in the game. But I think that we beat Bama if we get to Bama. After that point, I don't want to see Florida. I think Florida's one of my favorite picks to win the national championship right now. I think Florida is really, really, really good. Their coach, he's great as well. I think he's building something down there. I hope they get back to how they were during the Billy Donovan years. It's really going to help the SEC. But I don't think we make it past that point if we see Florida. If we see anybody else, I see us getting to the championship game if somebody can knock Florida off before that point.
Yeah. They're the ones we talk about Carr being a mismatch, not against Florida. They throw out 3 bigs.
Yeah.
Florida and Michigan are about the 2 that can match up with us as our bigs.
Chad, I want to hear your opinion on this. So, us winning, we got the lower seed. But if we would have, if it would have played out differently, are you happy that we are in the bracket or the side that we're at where if we do win our first game, we see Alabama rather than opposed to seeing Auburn? Would you have rather us just stayed where we were at to see Auburn and taking away seeding for March and stuff? I'm just talking about just head-to-head. Or are you kind of happy
my view
about
on that's weird too? Is Alabama? No, I did not like the time that we end up playing. We get those 2 night games, and then if you do get through them, then you play at 9:00 Friday night, and then turn around and play at 3. I don't like that. I'd much rather play the early games Thursday and Friday, and then the 12:00 game on Saturday. Y'all played. Can you can elaborate on?
Right.
Is that a big
right now
deal?
We're gonna play at what time? 8:30 Central Time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even at we played at a lower level, but that D1 level, as fast as the game is at that level, how physical it is. I couldn't imagine having to play at 9:00 at night, not getting done until probably midnight, getting out of the stadium until midnight, going home or going back to your hotel, getting some rest, and you're back up at 6 a.m. for a shoot around, walk through, and start to prepare for the game the next day. Your body still haven't recovered either. That's a good point too on that side of things. We're not used to being on this side of the bracket in the SEC tournament. This is
especially with the injuries we have. Right, the more recovery time, the better. We don't need to be on one of those having played multiple times with multiple people recovering from injuries. Who knows? I know. I think is Carr still wearing his back brace in between, while he sits out, when he comes out of the game, right? Recovery's a lot tougher for those type of injuries.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, go ahead, Colton. If you had to pick a favorite going into the SEC tournament right now, who would be your tournament favorite?
I honestly like Florida. I just do. I think they're playing the best, but overall, their depth is unreal, especially at the big position. They have they have a veteran point guard in Clayton, the guys that go and win March Madness type games and tournament games. To me, Auburn, I think Auburn and Tennessee would be a very good matchup in the semifinals, and I think Tennessee would get them. I really do. I think Auburn's shown a few weaknesses in the last couple weeks to their inability to score sometimes. And I think they're just relying on being physical, but sometimes and Tennessee can be physical. Theirs is just scoring too, whether they hit the three or not. If they don't hit the three, so I like Florida. I think they're the most complete team in the SEC. I really do. I mean, Auburn's right there close, but to me, I like Florida's chances of beating Alabama to get there. And I think Auburn's going to have to go through a tough physical game against Tennessee or someone like that before they get there. And I like Florida.
Yeah, Chad, who's your favorite going into the SEC tournament?
I mean, it's hard to bet. Florida looks so good, but I still think you got to go with Auburn. I mean, I think after they beat us, that's when they locked up the SEC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
It looks like they've lost focus. Like, I don't think the last couple of games are who they are. I mean, if you look at what they did all year, it'll be hard to pick against them. Now, I do think they show signs of, like, late in the games, they haven't played enough close games.
Right.
So, late in, some close games, who beat Florida? Did Florida beat
Texas A&M beat them.
But, like, if you watch those games, like,
Alabama.
they went.
And Alabama
They missed,
beat them.
which Broome finally made one, but until Broome hit the one in the corner, they missed, like, 3 or 4 in a row. And the same thing at Florida, they couldn't make one down the stretch when they needed to. And I mean, but they haven't played any close games, so I would still go Auburn.
Yeah. Mason, who you got?
Well, y'all know how high I am on Florida. I'm taking Florida. Colton, I think that's a good point that you brought up about Auburn. I feel like this is pretty consistent with these Auburn teams the last few years. They're pretty good, high energy, can make shots, but then they get in the tournament, they have a game where maybe they're not making shots, and I feel like that's something they have Broome, yes, but I mean, like, Amari Williams shut Broome down, and I feel like at times he kind of disappears too. I don't know. I just feel like Auburn has that weakness, and that's something we've seen within the last few years that's really caused them to struggle come tournament time. They have a game where their offense isn't going as great, and they struggle to move on or win games. So
it's easy to play with the lead with their type of team.
Right.
Yeah.
But their type of team from behind is totally different. Like, they were behind that entire Texas A&M game.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't find a way to catch up, and they haven't had to play from behind the whole season. The few times they have, they've actually lost. So I think that's interesting, because you can't go to Broome down low if you're down 12 with 5 minutes left, right? You're not just going to pound it in the paint. You're going to start thinking, we've got to make outside shots. It's a totally different team when that has to happen.
I'm actually going to go with Chad on this one. Like I said previously on the last episode, that whoever wins the SEC tournament is not going to win March Madness. So, not trying to look too far ahead, but I do think Florida has the best chance of making a deep, deep run. So that's why I think that Auburn is going to come hot and heavy. Like Chad said, they've already secured the SEC tournament, or not SEC, but the SEC regular season. So maybe showing flashes of not who they truly are, and they have lost here a couple games towards the end, and maybe wanting to prove people wrong that they are the number one team in the nation, and they have all these AP Top 1 wins for a reason. And I think Janai Broome is going to have a big tournament. I do expect that. So that's just kind of my thoughts. Regardless, though, it's going to be a very exciting SEC tournament. So looking forward to that. Well,
are y'all going at all? Anybody going?
No. I bought tickets for Wednesday when I thought the Cats were going to play. And it was like $50, and I was like, I'll eat it if they don't play.
It'd have been a good year to have a book.
Yeah, it most definitely would. I thought about going, but I can't.
We were going to go if we played at 12 Thursday, but I'm not going down there at 9 o'clock and taking Dawson.
Yeah. Well, that is it for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. As always, go Cats. That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.